everyone. Welcome to AWS Daily with Ukeme. And today we'll be having a hands-on lab on AWS IAM. So AWS IAM literally means Identity Access Management, which is Amazon Web Service Identity Access Management. It's responsible for creating new users and managing new users, also creating policies and roles and groups of users, giving them specific privileges to your account or to specific resources. So there's something called the principle of least privilege in AWS, which basically means each user created should have access to only the resources they need to have. So the principle of least privilege is a user having access to the resources that they need to have, nothing more than that. Okay. So let's get into it. On the top right-hand corner on this console, if I click on this, is where I have my current user that is logged in. This IAM user is called Cyrax with this ID. And I have given this, using my root user, I have given this user permissions, administrative permissions. So let's create a new user. How to get to the IAM console? You can click on services on your top left corner, scroll down to security identity and compliance. Scroll down to IAM. So once you click on that, it takes you to the IAM dashboard. Right away, AWS is already telling me that I might have some security risk. I need to implement MFA, which is multi-factor authentication, to improve security for this account, and then also update policies with depreciated actions for billing and cost management products. So this is just AWS advising me on what to do. I currently have 4 user groups, 3 users, 12 roles, 7 policies, and 0 identity providers. So today we want to create an IAM user. On this left panel corner where you have access management, click on users. At the moment, I have 3 users here. I have Cyrax, I have Conglau, I have Terraform. They are in these groups respectively, and this gives you more details of how old this account is and the last time I actually used any of this account. So I've been using Cyrax a lot. Let's create a new user. So on the top right hand corner, you'll see add new users, add users. Click on add users. And then it brings you here, set user details, your username for this account. Let's call this account AWS Daily. And then the type of access. Moving on to, we have access key, programmatic access. So with this, it gives you an ID and then a secret access key when you create this account. If you tick this is basically used when you want to connect to AWS using an SDK, using the CLI or maybe the API, or other developer tools. But in a later tutorial, we'll be using the CLI. CLI basically means command line interface, something as similar to this. Something as similar to this, your command line. So that's what we call CLI. So in a later tutorial, we'll be connecting the CLI, to AWS, and then we would need this access key. So let's tick that. Password management is the next option. Password, which is AWS Management Console Access, which is this console. So if we enable this, it means we can now use a password to sign into this console as this user called AWS Daily. So if we tick that also, it's going to ask us to input our password. I'm going to put my password in there. All right. And then if we scroll down, it says require password reset. No, untick that. So this, we don't need to reset the password every time we want to log in. So just untick that. Click on next, which is permissions. This is a very interesting part. So with this permission, we have add this user to a group, which is basically when you have a certain group that has specific policies attached to them, you can just add that user to it. So instead of attaching new policies directly to that user, you attach the policies to the group and then add that user to that group. That's one option. The second option is copy permissions from existing users. So if we have an existing user, you can just copy permissions from any of this existing user and then attach it to AWS Daily, which is this user. And then attach existing policies. So what are AWS policies? So AWS policies are basically configurations of access management. For each resources, there's a policy that guides the permissions of that resource. For example, if we want to attach, let's attach an S3 bucket policy. As you can see, this is S3, Amazon S3 full access. This gives you full access to Amazon S3, gives this user full access to Amazon S3, and it has permissions like 3 policies attached to it. This is us looking at the Json format of this policy. It's a statement that says that we should allow everything, which is the effect on this resource, which is all AWS S3 resource and also all AWS S3 objects Lambda resource. It's telling you have access, full access to that. So if we click on policy summary, it basically just summarizes what you just saw in JSON format and shows you what you have full access to. You see full access, all resources, request condition, none. So let's select that. So if this basically means this user has full access only. Remember the principle of least privilege. We want this user to have access only to S3 resources. So that's the privilege it deserves, and that's what we're giving it, the principle of least privilege. Let's click on next for tags. You can skip this, saying next for review, and then you can review all of your configurations here. Then click create user. So now we've created this user successfully, and 2 things have happened here. We have an option to download a CSV file. This CSV file basically contains the access key and the secrets to this account AWS Daily. So I'm basically just going to download that, and then you can also see the access keys here, and then the secrets, you can also see it right here. If I click on this, you'll be able to see the secret. That's why it's called the secret. I'm not meant to show you. So we have basically created this new user called AWS Daily. So, and then we downloaded the user credentials here. So let's sign up. It gave us a link to sign in using this account. So if we come back here, remember this is my account ID for all my accounts. The username becomes AWS Daily. And then click the password. And then click on sign in. So we've created a new user and we've successfully signed in with this user. To prove that this is the user, on the top right hand corner, click on the AWS Daily or the name there. So you see that this previously was called Cyrax, but now it's AWS Daily. And this user only has permissions for IAM permissions to access the S3 bucket. So if I click on IAM right here and I'm trying to check, so you see access denied. You do not have permission to get summary. There are so many things. You don't have permission to do IAM MFA devices. You see, so we don't have all, this user doesn't have all of those permissions. The only permission this user has is for an S3 bucket. Okay. So thank you for joining me on today's session. We've successfully created an IAM user and signed in using the AWS console. Thank you.